So we're going to start with these builders, right? So they put them on platforms. There's signals within the platforms or within Google structure that needs these signals, and those platforms don't give it back. So your website's on Squarespace, it's on Wix, it's on Shopify, which Shopify can be worked with, but it's very expensive to get it customized to be able to do it with. So the best answer is always to go to a WordPress build, because it's something that most people can manage. It's something that you can use. It's something that you can work with, but it also allows you the best opportunity to get that website working, and being able to get traffic from Google to it. Okay. So I'm one of those people that say don't use Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, because mostly they're not search engine friendly enough. Like I said, if you're doing some hyper niche thing, maybe it would be okay. But for the most part, it's not going to be an okay thing. All right. So I'm all about trying to get everybody traffic and get traffic to a website and get that all working properly. So I'm going to use my own website stats for a second here. I think it's this one. Nope, I always pick the wrong one. All right. Okay. All right. So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up your analytics. So if it's not set up, you can, when you log in for the first time, it'll take you through a sequence. If you're using WordPress, look for a plugin called SiteKit, and it's called Google SiteKit. And it allows anybody and everybody to set up analytics without having to have any code. Yes, ma'am. SiteKit, SITEKIT, SiteKit. Okay, and if you use Google SiteKit, what it ends up doing is it has all the abilities in it to add what you need to add, and it kind of runs through it with a wizard, so you can do it quickly, easily, and effectively. And what I can show you on Google SiteKit is we can, let me do it this way. I have a dummy site that I keep for stuff like this. So let me just kind of do this, and we'll just do it this way. And I'll walk through the wizard with everybody so that we know what we're doing here. Okay, so we have Google SiteKit. And I'm doing it this way because of a plugin. Usually on Squarespace and Wix, there's a place to paste in code. Okay. Again, I am not advocating using it, so get changed over, get to the right place, and then we'll be in a much better situation. I think SiteKit is here somewhere. I'm just not seeing it. Yeah, it's here. All right, so where is it that I'm not seeing it here on the side? Screen up there it is, way on the bottom. All right, so when you come in, it'll say connect to Google Analytics as part of your setup, and you're going to tell it yes. So that would be the first thing. So we tell it yes, and we tell it sign in with Google, and it's going to ask us our Google username and log in. So I'll just add this one here. Continue. Continue. It's going to ask me to verify that I own the site. I'm going to click verify. And I'm going to turn on metrics in your dashboard. I'm going to say allow. I'm going to tell it to set up. I'm going to tell it to set up analytics. And it's going to go and do its thing here. And if you have an analytics account, it'll come up and ask you for what your analytics account. So I'm going to create a new account because it's not on here anymore. Because this one didn't have it. And when I hit create an account, it's going to build my analytics account. The other thing it's going to do is going to set up something called Search Console, which is important to this discussion. They're married together. You need Search Console just as much as you need analytics in this discussion, because analytics will pull in the site console information for you. All right. The other thing you need to do is you need to do enable enhanced measurement. And the reason you need to do enhanced measurement is because you actually need to use Google Tag Manager. So there's a secondary piece to this that we need to add to this. So that's why I'm saying go ahead and do this, because it's an important step in the process. All right. It's going to do it as part of this. But if I don't have this option, you're going to go, I guess, write this down. It's search.google.com/search-console. And they function differently. And it's kind of why you need both of them. And you need to make sure Google knows that both of those accounts are tied together. So with WordPress, this makes it very easy to do. I don't know if there's a,
Yeah, it is like painting and stuff.
Yeah.
well, that's where, and you're going to have to go back and add the tag manager too. So so if I didn't have all of this, okay, so I'm going to bail out on this for the moment. I think we've got enough of a feel for this. Okay. So, and I think this is a good discussion to have. So let's go back to Google Analytics. And let's assume we don't, here under admin. So when you log in, it should walk you through the process if you don't have an account. If you do have an account, it's going to come over here and you can do it and go to, it's over here that if you don't have an account, if you need to add one, you add it, see it here, create. I knew it was here somewhere. They moved this stuff around on me quite a bit. Okay, so I want to create an account. Okay. And let's say, let me see, what don't I have an account on these days? Well, let's use that one that I used, our separate one here. We're going to put in our name, which that is our WordPress setup.actwd.com. I'm going to tell it, yes, I want to share. I'm going to tell it, and let's tell it next. And it's going to ask what the property name is. So I'm going to tell it ACTWD setup. And you notice that's not a URL. It's just I can name it anything I want.
Like the name of your company or brand?
Yeah, you can name it anything you want. Okay. You could name it Cooper if you wanted, which is my dog, and he likes when things get named after him. So, okay, we're going to put that in and we're going to say next. And they want to know about my business. So I'm going to say what I do. And in this case, it's, let's say computer and electronics. And how many employees? So I'm going to say next. And I'm going to say, what's the purpose of my site? I'm going to tell them what that is. And it's going to be generate leads. So I tell it create. And that's the end of this, and then it's created. Okay. So that's how you do it. And then it's going to kick you back. I guess, let's say, accept. You have to always scroll down now because they know nobody reads this. So now they think that's enough to prove that you read it. Okay, so now I have it and I have to change a thing and say, is it a website? Is it an Android app or is it an iOS app? And all applications from this class, we're going to be talking about web. The app and the app stores are generally not something that we do. And then we're going to talk about enhanced measurements, and we're going to want that as well. So we're going to put in, what did I say it was? WordPress. All right, and I'm going to put this in and I'm going to tell it to create the account, and it's going to create it. And now all of a sudden I'm going to have my account. It's going to give me a second piece of information, which is to set up Google Tag Manager. This is now a necessity. Google Tag Manager is no longer optional. Okay, so you now need the code off the second one to go put back into the header of wherever you entered your analytics code. You're going to need to come down underneath it and put this second. So don't erase the first code. You're going to put the first code and the second code and put them together in a thingy, and you're going to do all of that. And then you're going to test your so if you're doing it without Sitekit, this is the way to do it. Okay. If you're doing it with Sitekit, it's far easier, a whole lot less complicated. But you need to go, and sometimes it'll say analytics tracking code. It may just say website tracking code. Every platform has different versions. Okay. Because Google made the plugin for WordPress, I'm not even getting involved on how to do it without Sitekit. There's no reason not to install Google Sitekit and install through that. Okay, so we don't have to be coders anymore to do it. Just download the Sitekit plugin, add that to the website, and utilize that to set everything up. Okay.
What is Google Tag?
Oh, Google Tags. Okay. We're going to get to that later on in the class, but Google Tags basically allow events to be tagged is the shortest way. So if somebody calls me, if somebody fills out a form, if somebody stays on the website, it's allowing us to monitor their activity to decide if our website's being effective for what we want it to do. So if it's not being effective, then I'm gonna know it, because I'm not gonna have, it'll also say people that started a form versus people that completed a form. And what I'm gonna say is that's a very important metrics to have, because why did somebody stop doing a form? There seems to be a movement of sorts to go with these multiple screened forms. So you answer one question, you hit submit, and then they give you another form, and you answer a few more questions and you hit submit and you have another form. The logic in conversion is that if you've hit complete a couple times, you're married to the process and you're going to go all the way through it. I think it's a ginormous pain in the butt, and I think people are going to get wise to it and not just keep hitting the submit button. They're like, oh, it's one of these people, and they're out the door. So, all right, I think the norm is going to come back to multiple page submit forms are going to go out the window. I think it was a novelty that people were clicking next and then, oh wait, it's still not done, and let me do next. I think now that we've all been trained that, oh God, I'm falling for it again. I'm clicking. I think people get onto it and then they get aggravated, and it puts a bad taste in. So I know it's been a thing that people thought they were doing in conversion. I personally am not too agreeable to it. Okay. I don't know that I think it's the best way to go. But with that said, I think that's let's see if I can bring this back up here. I'm trying to get nothing ever does what I want it to do.
I have data streams next. Is that the next step in the process?
Data streams are going to be so. All right, so data stream is a piece of the process. So if you've got data streams, that is what it ends up doing. And then it says, does it collect data? It's doing all of that. So that's all part of this. Okay. All right. So right now, yours is saying it's not collecting data. So, all right. So that's another part of this. Okay. So we're all set up with analytics. The next thing we need to do is come back into Google Tag Manager. And now that we have this all set up, it says it's all done, and it wants to see if my data is collecting, and I can go home and I can do whatever. Okay. The other thing that is my demo site, hold on a minute. And I come here. And I come, they put little things. I'm like, I need them to move these things. If I come here on Site Kit and I go here, there's it is set it up. Yes. So there's a settings tab. And what you need to do is you need to go to more services and you need to make sure that the tag manager set up new account. All right, create a new account or refetch my account list. If I tell it refetch, I'll go through it and it turns it on, which is the important part of why I'm saying if you can do it through WordPress, do it through WordPress. Okay, don't just do it randomly because I think it's important to do it where it's most efficient and more likely to work. Okay. When you get involved with code, if you forget a piece, you put an end quote, there's all kinds of things that you're starting to troubleshoot that can go wrong with it. So if you have the option to do it, Chandra, this goes for you too. If you have the option to do it, use the site kit to set it up and utilize that. That's the safest way to do this properly. Okay, so you see I come in here and then I can set up a new account. It's going to start asking me questions. It's going to start doing all this stuff. And I have to then go through and it's then going to give me another set of information. Okay, so I'm not too, all right. All right. So this is, if I come into here, you'll notice that you have, don't know if I don't think it's, I don't. All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to say create an account. I'm going to actually set this up right now, and it's going to be my website addresses. For web, I'm going to tell it to create, and I needed to do this anyway, so it's fine that I'm doing this. This is where you're at. Okay. So you did this. So now you need to do is you need to take this code and you have to paste it in. If you use Site Kit, you do not have to paste it in. It will do it for you. So that's where I'm expressing concern for you because you need a place and a way to get into the headers and the footers of that website. So then we're going to have to put the header and footer add-on to the website so you can get into the headers and the footers and don't have to do it with HTML.
So I downloaded the site.
Okay. Okay, so it should be activated and it should now appear on your left-hand side of your black bar on WordPress. Okay. So in that black bar, it should say Site Kit. If it's activated, if you haven't activated it, you need to activate it. And you would do that under plugins and then find it in the list and then go to activate. Okay. So I now have this here, and this is my workspace for this. This is my tag ID. So I actually have this now all created. What I need to do is I actually need to go to this website and add this because I guess I didn't do it. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. All right. Site Kit is here. I'm going to go to settings because I need to put the tag manager in on settings. And just so you know, this I'm actually taping the screen of what I'm doing, so I'll put it up on the website so you'll have it as a reference. So you see I have here, I'm going to go to more connected services and I'm going to go to set up tag manager. And it's going to pull up connecting the tag manager and it's see it found we are Houston Real Estate because it has an account and I'm going to tell it complete setup. Okay. All that code that you're now trying to figure out what to do is already installed. That's how easy that was to do that. Okay. All right, and see, it says my account doesn't have right permissions for this. I'm gonna see why it's complaining about this. All right, so it's asking to access something that it really shouldn't access or want to access. So see, it's giving me trouble here on this. So because I'm gonna tell it, it's giving me a fit here a minute. Let's see if it fixes it. I'm gonna reset it. So because it's giving me a little bit of a problem here, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell it to rerun all of this. And I'm gonna do it from this user. And this way I make sure that the users are matching too. All right, and I think that now fixed it. So if you look, I just clicked through a couple screens and now everything should be okay. And it looks okay, absolutely. All right, so now what it's doing is it's going to start pulling in those traffic and those traffic wheels for me, and it's going to tell me whether it's right or wrong or not. It's still complaining about it, and I don't know why. All right, well, you do that, and then we'll see you next month. Next month, we're talking about how to put all this together. Okay, so that's going to be my next month class. You're very welcome. Have a great day. All right, I'm not going to worry about this too much for the moment. I'll fix it at home. All right, but if you see now, it pulls in my site content, it's pulling in my search console, which is what this is. And remember, I told you search console was important because it actually gives you the words that people are looking for. That's really what one of the most important aspects of this are, as you can see how many impressions I'm getting. Now, one thing I will say is this is a brand new site. The site's been up for like 2 months. So it's up, it's only. So hold on a minute. I got to reshare my screen. It kicked me off again here. Share. Okay, we should be okay now. All right, so we have all our stuff is all set up. We're in good shape. Let me reload this now and see if it loads in right. It's still struggling on the Google Analytics because it's still having some problem that I don't have the right Google permissions on this thing, but I don't really know why.
So when you see like what words are getting searched the most, how do you use that for your website? Like,
Well, I use it in 2 ways. All right, so let me go over to my own website for a minute because mine has much larger situation going on here. And that's a really good question, and it's relevant to this class because I want everybody to understand what's going on with this so you understand how to best navigate all of this. All right, so all right, so this is the one for vertical web, and you can see that we have 525,000 impressions, okay? So when I see that, what I know is that I have a lot of visibility. People are seeing my website, but what they're not doing is clicking on it. All right, so I need to figure out now why that's happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to see that 218 of those impressions in our name and 63 people actually click through on that. So you're at what, about 33% on a click-through rate on our own name. So that's people that are looking for us, looking for something about us. And that's a good number to have. But from there, it starts to fall away by the wayside. So I'm going to search this upside down. Okay, so I went by what are the things getting the most impressions, right? So I have SEO near me. All right. I have 8,000 impressions and I have 0 click-throughs. So my question then to myself is, why is that? So I'm going to click on this one. And what it's going to tell me is my average position is 68.2 on a ranking of 1 to whatever, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out how am I going to take that and push that further, because that's a high traffic keyword. And if I can bring it up, I want to do that. Now, one thing is I did have a gap here because our office moved. So we've been working with Google to get a Google verification, and they wanted a video, and it was been nothing but a nightmare. So I think they finally accepted my video and could understand that we actually have an office, we have a receptionist, we have business recommendations, all the things that they wanted. I think we're finally to a good spot that we have that. So it's kind of bounced back since yesterday or whenever I did this. But the SEO near me, now that's one that I would say that I feel like I'm chasing, because if I'm putting time in on near me, that would only imply that the person that put it in had to be somewhere in the vicinity of where I am. And I don't know that an SEO product really that benefits. If I was a Mexican restaurant, maybe. But if I'm an SEO company, granted, it's a lot of traffic, but I don't know that I'm going to put my time in on that word, just because I think that one's a little bit more. Now, the next one is web development services. That had 7,000. And you notice there is no, what am I trying to say? Locale attached to that. Okay. Now, what I know is, again, we moved our office back in the beginning of January. And when I moved the office, as you can see, it went and petered itself right on down from the point I moved the office to whatever. So apparently there is some local aspect to that search. What I now need to do is I need to go look at this and I need to say, okay, it's saying 77. I'm going to go look and see if I'm 77 nationally or if I'm 77 locally. If I'm 77 nationally, I'm going to start to look at what do I need to do to take that and move that to the front page of Google. Now, I make that sound easy. Monica, that's another class we can do, is how to get your page moved to the first page of Google. Because I actually, if you give me a search term, I can look at that search term and pretty much tell you more or less what is it going to take to move that to the first page of Google. Now, something like this particular term, it's a web development term, so it's a ginormous term. So I may get to the front of the line and find out I'm up against GoDaddy. Well, I'm never going to beat GoDaddy. So then I have to go, well, do I try to make it in Houston? I know I can beat them in Houston. Maybe I need to bring it back in Houston. I will systematically go through every one of these keywords. Now, after a while, you'll get to a point that you'll say, okay, this is a good keyword. This is a bad keyword. This deluxe hosting keyword has always been interesting because you see, I'm number 12 on that. And that's national, out of a national pool. I'm on the second page. Now, do I want to pull that to the front page and see if I can't collect customers? Yes, that's absolutely a goal that I would have. Not today. The only thing I'm going to say on the other side of it, though, is even though it was on the second page, it's only had 247 impressions. So it means it's not a lot of traffic on it. But I can see that I have a 1% rate here on it. So maybe I just need to see what I got to do to move that to the front page of Google. And then I'm going to go down the rest of these, right? Okay, so this one says front page replacement. I don't want Microsoft front page traffic anymore, so I would not put any time in on that. Unlimited web hosting. You see, I have 3879 people looking for unlimited web hosting. I don't know if I want that business or not, but I already had 2 click-throughs through it. So it tells me that, oh, I'm in the 30th spot. So they had to go through 30 people on average to decide whether, so the first 30 people are probably somebody nobody wanted until they got all the way. So to see something like this is a little unusual. Usually people tap out in the first page, first 5 results. So there's something to this. that says that unlimited hosting, but then, there's a lot of troubles with unlimited hosting. And then here's Web Designer in Houston. And I actually had 2 click-throughs on that. This one's 30, this one's movable. So what I may want to do is come up and talk about what does the web designer market look like in Houston? And I might want to put some content up. So it's giving me some parameters that I need to know, so I know what I need to focus on, what we're doing well. It also tells me what I'm not doing well, and then I can backfill it. Let's say I wanted to rank on web design, and web design was way on the bottom and I had no impressions, no anything. Well, that tells me, well, Beth, if you want to rank on web design, you better get on the stick and put together a web design section. It all goes about understanding how to put the website together to come out with the right goals. I think the thing is, these tools help you come up with the right goals. I think that's the true situation with this. When I look and I see that I'm getting large amounts, or like at one point, somebody's like, there's a local SEO term that we were in the, over 100,000 views for it, but we never got a lot of click-throughs on it, because wherever that was appearing, everything around me on the page was an informational of what is local SEO. It was not somebody that was looking to make a buying decision. It was somebody looking to, I don't even know. They weren't buyers. So we weren't getting the calls back. So even though I had this high number, it was not a good money term. But without this information, you wouldn't know it at all. Now, many years ago, Google themselves would give you this information. You had the keywords, you knew what the traffic was, you knew the pages that people were landing on. And for example, I have this unlimited web hosting page. Let's say that unlimited hosting page was going to a $10 hosting plan that was not unlimited. Well, I would then know I have to go fix that. So by not having the keywords, it kind of hampers you a little bit on it. The other thing this thing will do for you is, let me see, it gives me, I just go, let me take this off. It also gives me the top pages on my website. So if you look, these are aggregated numbers, and I'm going to flip it again. All right. There was 100,000 impressions on for my Houston SEO expert page. Okay. So now I want to know, what were the top queries for that came up with 100,000 queries for that. And you can see Houston SEO Company, SEO Houston, Houston SEO Services, SEO Services Houston. Those are all the keywords that my page appeared on. All right. So I now have to think, all right, where am I in the pecking order that I got 5,000 on this keyword, and yet I only have 1 impression? Well, I'm at 37. So now what do I need to do to move that page? And how am I going to isolate that page and move that page forward? Because that page has a lot of power. So if I can move that page forward, then I'm going to get more looks and I'm going to get better conversions off of it. So that's what this is. That's why we're kind of having this conversation. I know it can be a little bit cerebral, so I'm trying not to make this too boring. But it's one of those things that if we do this, and we do this right, we can utilize it to understand where we're having wins. Are those wins as big as we want them to be? And if we're having losses, how do I either decide that that's an acceptable loss, like front page web design is an acceptable loss to me because I don't want those kind of websites. And then if it's an acceptable loss, then throw it off to the side and just disregard it. If it's not an acceptable loss, then what do I do to fix it? And I think these are the decisions that most small business owners don't know that they have the power to make. And I don't think that they know they have the power to correct them, or at least address them in a way that is more amenable to, to getting the traffic and getting leads off the website. Okay. So I look at this. on a regular basis for everybody that is involved. What I will tell you is on that real estate site, I have been building pages for the subdivisions within Kingwood. Kingwood's got about 20 some subdivisions that are inside of it. And I've been building individual pages for that. So I can see that the pages that I've built that are for the villages that I've completed, we're actually getting traffic in on those, and that we're coming up. The searches are starting to rise on those. So in most cases, that website, although it's two months old, it really has, it's already getting traffic to it because that's such a hyper niche. I want a house in Barrington in Kingwood. That is so hyper that if you can pull that off, you're intrinsically going to end up with traffic just because you've pulled that off. That's a buyer. That's somebody that knows what they want. Even, house in Houston is like saying, I want a house in America. I mean, what does that mean? Okay. So I would never chase that. House in Kingwood, well, you've already decided where you want to live.
Yeah.
All right.
So I heard about my word. Is that interesting?
No, what I'm saying is it's how do people search for it? All right. That's the difference. And I'll tell you, you got to get out of your own way with this. Okay. Because if you start to look down this list, I may say, if you just walked in the room and said to me, if you could have one keyword in all of Google, what would you want? And I would say SEO Houston without any doubt. Okay. The thing is that you might put in SEO services, you might put in SEO expert, you might put in Houston SEO company, and Monica might put in the best SEO company in Houston. Okay. 50% of all these searches are not repeated. They're unique to the end user. But I know something like Houston SEO or SEO Houston, that term is the lion's share of the traffic. It's just like a moving company. If you were going to do a moving company, it's Mover Houston, Houston Mover. Period. End of story. If you didn't rank on anything else, I used to have a ex-business partner, and him and I, one of the ways we ended up becoming business partners is him and I would argue incessantly on something. There is only one word or one key phrase that makes conversions for a web hosting company. You want to guess what that is? Web hosting. Because the people that put in cheap web hosting or quality web hosting or deluxe web hosting or even unlimited web hosting, they have a preconceived notion in their head of what that web hosting package should have. The guy that puts in web hosting, he's looking for a web hosting company, and then he's going to start doing it on price because it's a commodity. Okay. So what we noticed was we could have 150 terms related to web hosting. Nine times out of 10, 90% of the conversions were attached to a web hosting keyword, like web hosting itself, bar none. And he would say to me all the time, but you have to have all these other keywords and you need to do it. The only one that converted was web hosting. So if that's the only one that converts, why am I going to put all my time and effort into something else may happen? I liken it to, I don't know if any of you are fisher people, but if you're a fisher person, you put your pole in the water and there's a hook. And every once in a while, a fish swims by and gets on the hook. They don't take the bait. They actually get it in their side because they were swimming by and they just ran into your hook by accident. All right. That's the rest of everybody. I want the people that are looking to make buying decisions. That's who I want. Hey, Monica, can you close that door? Thank you. So that's what I want. I want the people looking for making buying decisions. So I have to determine what are they using to make a buying decision and what is informational and what is not, right? So I have an informational search. How do I pick a web hosting company? Well, that implies somebody's looking to buy web hosting. So I have the opportunity to maybe make the argument of why you pick my company or make a line item of, I had a page that said, I do this a lot with my double negatives, how to avoid choosing a bad web hosting company. And we made a checklist of the things that you needed to ask a web hosting company to see if they were any good or if they were bad. Because if they answered certain questions a certain way, you knew that just run for the hills, right? So that page was a very popular page, and we got some signups off of it because they were able to then go back to our website. And I mean, we kind of gave them the completed list and said, okay, we check all these boxes. Maybe somebody else doesn't. So it's just kind of thinking out of the box a little bit on how to look at this. But without this kind of a list, I'm flying blind to know whether I'm making my my goals or not. All right. And I need to know that. And that's why the Search Console ties together. It knows the visitors. You're going to tell it what's a conversion. What it doesn't know, unless you're an e-commerce site. So you're an e-commerce site. Okay. So it'll know this. I have somebody come in, they type in a keyword, they go through the process, and they buy something. That's a conversion. You know what the dollar amount was to apply to it, and you know what it was. Somebody like me, I can only count form fills or phone calls. What happens to that phone call or that form fill becomes somewhat up to me to figure out what it was, because there's no dollar amount I can assign to it. Monica, right now, if you had to say, out of all our online leads, we get very few that actually are real that they want. Do you agree with that statement? Okay, so although we would count it as a conversion because somebody contacted us, very rarely, either they were looking for information, they were looking for something we weren't doing, there was something, they were not a quality lead. So that's something that now I'm having to put my thinking cap on and saying, what am I going to do to find a quality lead? So you have it a little bit easier if you have an e-commerce site than somebody that's a services business, because it's a little bit harder to track, because you don't know. Yes, I got a phone call. Did they make an appointment? Dentist office. Yes, we got a form fill. We got a phone call. What we find a lot of the times on the dentist office, it'll fill out the form, and if somebody doesn't call back within seconds, they're down the road and have found somebody else. So even though they're getting the lead, are they getting the sale? And I think that's something that you have to talk about and consider in all of this. One of my other business partners, he would tell me all the time, well, my job is just get them to the front door. And then what happens to them at the front door is, up to the business. And to some degree, that might be right. But the thing is that when the business says, well, why am I not converting? We've got to look at, is your price too high? I had a conversation this morning with somebody that I told him his receptionist was terrible. I can't, I'm not here to put on airs or, say something different. If you're going to ask me why you're not getting leads, I'm going to tell you your receptionist is terrible. They're abrasive. They're not friendly. They're not. And the problem is that anybody over the age of 55 or 60 is usually okay with that, because we're a whole generation of people that just didn't care. All right. But as I move down the thing and your birthday gets closer to 2000, you care more and more how people talk to you. And you're more and more or less offended by what somebody says. So, that becomes a factor. I have to look at, did you go mystery shop this person? Have you talked to them on the phone lately? Because you talk to them every day. All right. So that's an example. I have somebody they're like, we're not getting leads from Germany. Okay. Why are we not getting leads from Germany? Well, because your phones are not answered during the day in Germany. Okay, you're all in bed because there's like a 2-hour window where you'll answer the phone at 4:00. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I make my phone calls first thing in the morning, and then I'm done talking to people for the whole rest of the day, because by the time I get to 4:00, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to get engaged. I want to just go home and make dinner and kick my shoes up. That's what I want to do. All right. So you call me at 4 o'clock. We're going to have a far less happy conversation than if you call me at 9 o'clock. Okay. So as I'm saying this, so the people in Germany only get this very small window of when you're open because of the time difference. Well, that's a factor. And we started there like, no, no, no. And then we actually started pulling the phone records and realized, no, yeah, that actually is a thing. Okay, so people were calling, but nobody's answering the phone because you guys are all still in bed, and then people aren't going to call you from Germany at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Germany because they're already off at the beer house and doing whatever and having a Heineken and a smile. I don't know. So, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So these are all these things that without having these tools, we can't really answer. And because we really can't answer them, I think that we're at a severe disadvantage. And how do we know whether our marketing's working or not working? How do we know if something's doing what it's supposed to do? What I will say is that a lot of SEO companies will say that they don't get a lot of leads from their websites. And I think the reason that is, and again, understanding the industry, is that people tend to try to find somebody that's had a good experience because so many people have had a bad experience with a web designer or an SEO company, or I get the whole, well, my web designer said they knew SEO. Okay, I'm going to tell you that there's very few web designers that know SEO. Okay, it's not really a thing because SEO is math and web design is the other side. One is left brain and one is right brain. I don't know which side of the brain is what, but whichever, one is creative and one is mathematics. Okay, so of course, those two tool sets don't go together. So unless they're big enough, they tend to not have the right, or they would have had like some of my ex-employees, they know SEO well. So they're able to say, yes, I can design a website, and they know rudimentary SEO and make it work just by accident because they know just enough to get it right. But most web designers don't. And I can see it all over websites. I have one right now that we're taking back in that it went to another person. They redesigned the website. I actually want to almost do a video of everything that's wrong with that website as a teaching thing of how to change a website, right? Now, on some level, I might be putting myself out of business because not really, but I'm telling people how to make sure you don't have these problems. The funny thing is my customer had known not to do these and he kept questioning, well, why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? And they kept saying, just let us do our job. Just let us do our job. Let us do our job. So they didn't appreciate the fact. And when I looked at it the other day, it's the first time I really looked at it. I was really quite appalled at how bad of a job they did. And my advice to him was, let me put the old site back and then let us start over, because there's so much wrong with the new site. There's so much that was not accounted for that it's going to take me longer forensically to figure out what wasn't done than it is to let me put the website back, get your traffic back. And in the meantime, take, a couple months, let's redesign this website. There's a lot that has to be accounted for. And if you don't know what you're doing, that's the normal. But you wouldn't know that without a tool like this. So that's these things. And you guys as business owners need to have access to these tools. You need to know where these tools are. You need to know, I get a report every day on every website that I manage that tells me what was the traffic for the previous day. Where did that traffic come from? What is the website doing? What are the end users doing? Where did they come from? If I have a website that gets 50 people a day and then all of a sudden it got 500, I'm like, okay, what happened here? We didn't send a newsletter. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. Oh, wait, the people from China are having a grand time. Okay. And then we got to go figure out what to do, whether it's malicious or it's just they put a TikTok video up and half of China showed up. So those all become, but without these tools, you can't do that.
We have a marketing person and a sales team.
And then that Google Ads, with everything that they were showing us is connected to the ads, but not this. Because we have the site manager, but it wasn't connected, because I just connected it right now. So what were they doing? Yeah.
Well, that's one thing. And then Google Ads, what's converting? Okay. So, and I'm going to acquiesce on something because, I've been doing this for 28 years next week. Okay. And I have never really been a proponent of paid ads, except that now I think you need a mix of paid ads, you need organic, you need social, you need videos, you need TikTok, because and Google themselves is starting to do this cross-channel match, meaning, okay, I saw them on the YouTube channel and they watched a video and then they came to the website. Or I saw them on Facebook and they were on your Facebook page and then they went to YouTube and then they came to your website. So they're actually counting these cross traffic channels now because that's what's happening. People don't come just through a Google search anymore. And remember, I told you initially when we got here, I was telling you 36 touches. It's why I've kind of gone through the process of saying, okay, I need to make sure that we have these classes. That's why I kicked on the reporter on this, because I'm going to take this class. I'm going to go ahead and stick it on, which it might be a little boring because people are watching the side of my head. Maybe I need to just turn it that way a little bit. But this class has some stuff with it. I've taken them, I've gypped them, I've made them into 2-minute segments. I've put them out on TikTok. I've got them running on Reels, on Instagram's Reels. I haven't done Threads yet, and I probably need to. But
Social media manager.
huh?
How do you?
Well, I'm going to go back to WordPress. I have a WordPress plugin that puts it all up for me. Now, the videos, so these ones that start with videos, I use Opus Pro for. Okay. And I love Opus Pro because so here's the thing. It's called Opus Pro. And what you do is you take your video and you upload it. OPUS. I'd say live is life, but you're too young to remember that. Anyway, but it's Opus, like the opus of a song, right? So it's called opus.pro. And you go in and I'll upload the 2-hour class and it takes it and it cuts it into 40 or 50 little 1 to 2 minute segments. All right. And then what I do is I say, okay, I like this one. I don't want to edit it. I don't want to do anything to it. Or I can cut it so it flows a little bit better. Because it does AI video editing. It does AI chopping. So it puts in where it thinks there's a natural pause. And it'll put that in. And then I just hit a button and it goes out to all 6 or 7 social media channels. And what I do now is I try to put them out one every other day or so. So the 40 that I get out of the class, I almost have a whole month's worth of content just for one class. Now, again, I'm saying on this here, like this one here is going to be kind of interesting because my Google screen's up. I'm talking in the corner. And as I'm talking, I have the same Google screen up. So they may be bored. I don't know. But the thing is that they'll take those, they'll put them together, they'll make them into a segment for me, and then it puts it up. The other thing is I have one that comes out at the back end of the website that what it does is it'll publish. So when they all put up a blog post, they're supposed to put a featured image on everything, which is a function of WordPress. So everything gets an image. Every blog post gets a header image. And then the software, when they publish it, it takes it and pushes it out to the customer's social media properties. Okay. I am a big proponent of taking anything I do on my website and pushing it out to a social media channel. Now, what I'm going to say is some people say, but I put it on LinkedIn and I wrote it for LinkedIn. Okay, great. Glad you wrote it for LinkedIn. LinkedIn's getting credit. That's why they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation and you're not sure if you can pay your mortgage this month. I mean, you're supporting LinkedIn. So what you want to do is you want to take it and you want to put it on your own site and then publish it to LinkedIn. So your site is the origin for it, not LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the other thing is Google sees the traffic coming back to that page off of LinkedIn and they're like, oh, okay, this must be a good page because I have traffic coming back to it. That's an oversimplified way of saying what I'm trying to say to you. But yes, so there's a plugin in WordPress that you can put in that will blast it out to social. There's several of them actually.
5, 6, like, so-
Yes, because you could put up a blog post on how to dress well. You could put up your clothes fashion. All right, so today we have bipolar weather. We agree that today's a bipolar weather day? We agree with that, right? That's an agreeable statement to everybody here? Okay. If I was a fashion person, which I am not, as you can tell, I'm not like a fashionista. It's not happening, but I'm really good at SEO. If I was a fashion person, I would get out of bed and I would film me getting dressed with the layers of what I'm supposed to wear today. And then as my day goes off, I'm unwinding them. So I would take a video of me putting these clothes on and speeding them up. And then a video every time I take a layer off, put them together, speed that one up.
And
then I'd go stick that out on social media that way with that video of speeding up, speeding down. Okay, if for your bipolar weather needs, which everybody in Houston can get that because you have a jacket on and a t-shirt. All right. I thought, well, maybe I need to, and you have a flannel shirt, a turtleneck. All right. So, because we're all dressed we got out of bed, it was 75, and by tonight it's going to be 46. And if you don't go back to your house, you need extra clothes. I mean, there's just and then sometimes it works in the other way. You get out of bed, it's 46, and by noon it's 88 degrees, So, I mean, but the thing is, so you can do something with that to highlight, kids, bus stop, what do you have to wear to the bus stop? And then what are you wearing home? The kid goes out the door and he needs like freaking 4 layers of clothes. And by the time he comes home, he's in his shorts and no shirt on, I mean, but those are funny things that you can do. And that's the way you can promote it. And then I would put a page together that talked about how to deal with, multiple seasons in one day. And Houston's notorious, I mean, really, we do 4 seasons in one day around here sometimes, so, but make it upbeat, and then you can put something with it and put it in all together. So to me, Instagram's your friend. These videos and these video shorts are your friends. That's the way I would look at it. And I mean, as I'm saying to do this, it doesn't mean that you can't do it all on a Saturday afternoon either. You don't actually have to wait for the day that we have bipolar weather because we have bipolar weather every 3 days. So I would go on Saturday and make 17 bipolar weather videos and,
that OP helps you do set the.
what it does is it goes in and it takes one video. Like this is one video segment that we'll have. This is a 2-hour video that I have doing off of Zoom right now. So at the end of the day, I end up with a 2-hour video. Okay. I'm not going to sit there. In fact, frankly, I've gotten all the way down to where I can have AI write the blog post for me, which has been a godsend. It's actually sped up the process now. Because before I would have to go in, I'd have to edit the video, I'd have to find the clips of what I wanted to save. And then I'd have to decide, do I want to write about it? Do I not want to write about it? Is this worth talking about? Is this not worth talking about? And I had to do all of that. And then I had to write the clip for it. What I will tell you is I'm on this for the social media clips. I've been letting their AI engine write the text for it. I'm fine with it. Have at it. All right. And that way I'm still getting the social media exposure. I'm getting and I'll tell you a secret, what happened, which I saw in my stats, is the second I went back out and started republishing the social media, the engagement on the website went up. So my rankings went up. So there's been a definite line from where the point was where I wasn't putting the social media stuff up. And now that I am, it's forcing people back to the website, and it's made that. But I only know this because I have my analytics stuff going on here. If I didn't have analytics, I wouldn't know any of this.
Okay, so say I search, and once I'm done searching that thing, it starts, like Facebook is, a new dresser. And then I'm done searching that, so. Is
Okay.
that all tied to?
Well, yeah, it is, because what happens is you have a Facebook's pixel or a Google pixel that was dropped on your computer. So when you do your ads right, you should have a Google pixel added to your website. And what ends up happening is it retargets. So those are the retargeting ads or the Facebook ads that follow around to it. So if you go Google search for one thing and you go back into Facebook, chances are you're going to end up getting an equivalent of whatever you look like, because somebody somewhere had a Facebook or a Google pixel on their website. That's not the easiest thing in the world to add at these days, but it is what it is. I mean, you need to do it. So, hang on a second here. I'm trying to drop this down. I want to do that because I need to star that so it knows. Okay. Anyway, so if we look here, now we did a lot of mail blasting last week for the classes, so I'm not too upset that the users are down a little bit. But what's interesting is the event count. Okay. And this is what I think you all should be. So we can talk about how to, if we don't run out of time, we can talk about how to set this all up. But the event count is what I find to be, this is what I think. I'm really glad I have the visibility of this now. Okay. Because what it gives me is it tells me about what my customers are doing. Okay. So I have a lot of different events. I have our chat. How many people engage with the chat? And let's do this over 30 days. Okay. So how many people engage with the chat? Well, apparently, according to this, only one person. I don't believe that, but okay. All right. How many people filled in a survey? One person filled in a survey. I have and I call it ad conversions, but it really is not ad conversions. It's who's contacting us and how. At 81 form fills. Now, I got done telling you I got 800,000. Am I unhappy with 81 forms being filled? No, probably not. I mean, that's 81 potential, although some of them are, do you need janitorial services? Some of them are, do you need to buy links? Do you need to do this? Do you need to do that? I mean, but we do have a reasonable amount of, you see that there's 50 users and 81. So there's 30 of them in there that, added at 81 are pretty well fake anyway. Okay. All right. But I'm happy with having, 81 forms come in that I have to look at, and that she's got to go call and go figure out whether they're real business or not business, or people I've met in this class that want to set up an appointment. I'm pretty happy with 81 on that. But I can go down each and every one of these and I can say, on user engagement, how many users were engaged? Well, according to this, half the traffic was pretty much engaged users, meaning that they went to more than one page. I'm here to tell you that that's probably one of the most important statistics that you can know about your website. Okay. And here's why. Google has now looked at how engaged a user is. They don't want the first page to have unengaged users. Okay. And what they're saying is, I go to Google and I bounce back to Google. And that's always been a bounce rate. That's always been that discussion. But they also want to know how long somebody's staying on your website. So I'm telling her to go put these little cute kids and have them spinning around and putting them in videos and, or adults or whatever you want to do. Okay. I'm telling you to do that, but I'm telling you to do that because what's going to do is you're going to pull that back through out of YouTube and you're going to get a user engagement credit because it's going to hold them there. So you told me you do HR services and you told me you do tax. So from a tax standpoint, I can talk about some aspect of, medical, let's say medical bills when you fill your taxes out, and how does that come out now? So I can make a 2-minute video that talks about that. For you, you can talk about, whatever the hiring practices are. What are you trying to do? You can do any of those items. You can go ahead and look at and do. And when you do them, what ends up happening is your user engagement goes up. So for me, I have a very high user engagement because what I've done is every time I put a new class up, that I put the video up, everybody gets an email and says, okay, the class video is up. So those that attended it come and watch it. Those that missed it go, okay, now I know I can just go watch it on the internet and watch it after the fact, which I was kind of afraid that was going to happen, that we'd end up like with attritioning numbers and then everybody watching it home. But I'm okay with that. As long as I got some people here in the room, I'm good with, because I have people that sign up, they don't come. Next thing I know, they're over here on the internet watching it at their house. You always have to come. You're not allowed to stay home. In fact, Tom needs to be here too. I got another guy. He uses us as his Mother's Day out. So, I mean, right? So, but the fact is that, these are now being put out on the internet. They're putting out in a way that we can just do whatever we need to do. And, they're out there for everybody. But I think that the event counts are one of the most important parts of this entire situation. Okay. The other thing is I like to look at, I want to see is this information. All right. These are pages and screens and classes that we've done. Every one of these are a class. What I want to know is how much time does people spend on these pages? And if you start to look, all right, there's some that bounce out, some that don't bounce out, so on and so forth. But what I've got is these class pages have had like this inordinate amount of, views. And then people are staying on there. What is the percentage of the people that have stayed? Some of them are staying, way long, and others are, coming in and staying for a while. They're getting a feel for it. The only thing I'm sad about is it doesn't count my blog post, because my podcast rather, because what I think is interesting is that a lot of people utilize the podcast, mostly because like I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you now, right? If you wanted to go back and watch this segment of the video, you could do that to see what I was looking at on a screen. But the reality is most of this you could listen to in your car and then just write down, okay, at a minute, at 1 hour and 53 minutes, I need to go pull the video and go look at this, and that's the kind of stuff that we do. But if I come back in and I look at this, these are all pages that were somehow related to this class. The engagement on this, whether it be the informational value, the educational value, the schedule itself, are some of the biggest drivers of engagement on our website. So we're not just about saying, hey, just come buy from us and it's a brochure. We're actually giving users something to come to, participate in, do something with, and then go ahead and go. So, but I like things like pages and screens. I like retention. How sticky is a customer? How much do they come? How many of my customers? I have 1,100, 1,300 new customers. I have 111 that return on a regular basis, because why they're coming back is they're coming back for the content. And I'm putting that content up because what I'm doing is I'm building brand loyalty. And what I will say to you is that this is something to know and to focus on as well, in my opinion, because I worked for State Farm for a while, way back 100 years ago before I started my company. And one thing that State Farm always said was it's easier to get business out of an existing customer than it is to get business out of a new customer. New customers are always a reach. So you're always trying to come out to your existing people. Well, what's interesting to me is when I look at something like this, and I have some loyalty within my customer base of people coming back, what I'm doing is basically reminding people that I'm out here. So if you guys have all engaged with me, there may be, 2 years from now, and I even had it happen in a Wild Birds Unlimited, but I have people say, oh, I took your class, or I follow you on the internet, or I took your class from you 5 years ago. I literally walked in a Wild Birds Unlimited, and the guy said, I can't remember your name, but you're the SEO lady from the SBDC. And I was like, well, yep, I am. And he's like, oh, I took a class from yours. It was one of the best classes I ever took. So the thing is that people, and what I get is, I'll get somebody from 3 years ago that comes up and says to me, hey, I now started a new job. I know that can you come and help me? But it's because of this retention and this loyalty that we've built within the business, that we have people constantly coming back and asking for things, whether their circumstances change, whether they've improved what they have, whether they're not happy with what they have. I mean, I've had it last week. I had 2 customers come back, which was really odd to me, because they literally both showed up on the same day saying, can I come back here? Because they had made decisions, went away for 2 years, blew their stuff wide open, and said, hey. And the one lady said to me, she said, since you left, she said, our leads have gone down by about 90%. And I mean, that was crazy, because they were doing awesome business, because they're in urgent care. It's not like they don't have the moving companies. It's nobody's moving. Everybody's sitting down. The stock market's down. Nobody knew who was going to be the president. Nobody moved for months. Nobody was moving. Right. So a moving company is economy driven, whereas in urgent care, people get sick every day. And COVID, I mean, we had that chart through the roof in COVID, because there was just people trying to get COVID tests and COVID shots up one side and down the other. We had lines out down the block and around the corner for COVID boosters, So, I mean, when I look at things like that, but I did, because we're out there, we're constantly talking to our customers, we're constantly, even if you leave, they seem to still come back and want something from us. And eventually they all seem to come back. It's kind of like, okay, it's like your kids, you send them off into the world and then they come back. I don't know, so there's a lot of that. So I want to go down this list a little bit so that you can see what it's doing and why. It has your report snapshot, which gives you an overview of some of the reports that you can set up. There's report templates in here. I don't want to know that I necessarily want to get into all of that. It's a little bit too sophisticated for this type of a class, but I want to kind of go down. All right. So report snapshot for the last month. So I'm running this for the last 30 days. Okay. So we've had 1,400 people. We've had 1.3 on the new users. So I know that we've reached a new audience. Okay. And then I have the average time that people stay on my website is over 1 minute and 12 seconds, which is actually on the high side, because there's a lot of things that hit that website and bounce back out. 1.1 on a minute is, I'm pretty happy that I've got people on a website. They have attention spans of 8 seconds. So when you do that, that means that I've kind of got them going on here. It tells me where where the people came from. It tells me whether they're new or whether they're returning, which is an important thing to do. Like, out of the users, 267 of them on the organic search were new people. And I'm even getting social organic too. So I've got multiple things going on here. Again, I understand that I don't have like ginormous numbers, mostly because I work on customers more than I work on myself. But with that said, I mean, and if I look at the direct and where people come from, most of the people come through direct because they're either coming out of this class, they're coming to sign up, they're coming back to, they're somehow, way, shape, or form, they're coming to me directly because they've either been given my name, passed my name, or they know me personally. Okay. That's actually an enviable thing to have happen, that you've got such a brand that a majority of your traffic is coming from outside of a search engine. Now, that's good and bad, because the people that know me, that are coming to me directly, they may or may not be a new person, whereas organic people are typically new people. So there is a growth thing there. One thing I will say, and I always speak like about my customers, because I think we learn something from them. Okay, and we learn. I think that websites and businesses are like children, and anybody that has a child knows that if you have more than one, none of them are alike. They don't have similar personalities. Okay. And what you do for one kid, you can't do for another kid. So I think that's what I think about websites, that every kid is different. Okay. Every website's different. So I had one that this website lived and breathed Google for many, many, many years, and it made a lot of money. We're talking millions, okay? But although the Google search query strings are still there, what's missing was a reinvestment in the customers that they had already built. Okay. So I've been after them. I keep saying to them, we need to send a newsletter. We need to send a weekly specials. You need to give 25% off to previous customers. You need to absolutely refuses. And what's happened is instead of building that brand loyalty that I'm going to come back and I'm going to buy from you again, she's always chasing a new person. And as Google has altered the way its value is, what's happened is the Google search has come way down, and she never cultivated the relationship with the business, with the businesses and with the people. And and like I look at my own business, and we did that back in 2002 and 2003. We get people coming in all over the place for web hosting. I mean, I can't tell you, we'd get 30, 40 people a day on web hosting, which for our little company was a lot. Okay. So that's a lot of people a week we were getting in. And then our rankings went away, and we looked at each other and said, what are we going to do? So we propped it back up with AdWords for a while. But in the meantime, I said, okay, then I'm going to get out in the community. I'm going to start engaging with business owners. We ended up taking over this class in 2003, and continue to drive this where I go places and people know who I am. That's a manner of success for your business, that I can walk in someplace in Houston and people actually know who I am. All right. But that's taken me years to do that. I mean, I've got it, but it's been very pointed that I kind of, once I got off the Google high, yes, I'm still working on the Google parts of it, but the other parts of my business and my stature within the community. And I mean, Houston is this biggest small town you'll ever want to meet, right? I think we've said that all through the years, but because I've done that. So, but how do I know what I'm doing is working? Well, when I look at this, and 80% of my traffic is coming from somebody that knows me. All right. And it's that kind of a split, meaning that, I mean, I still have 1,000 people coming from Google that are coming randomly. Okay. But I have 1,500 or more that are coming because they know me. I've done a good job because I've got my, and that's where our goals should be. But again, without tools like this, you don't know where people are coming from. If I go to acquisition, let's talk about acquisition here. You can see it says, organic directs 1,000, organic search is 367. Referral is another website they found me on. And then they came through. Somebody they don't know where they came from. And then you have organic social. They're looking at it as not a paid social. I don't have any paid social, but they're looking at people coming to us organically. And where they're coming from is YouTube and TikTok. That's where they're coming from. Somehow, but I ended up with like 11,000 TikTok people. All of a sudden, I'm like the TikTok person. I'm like, okay, not a vision that I had of myself, but okay, if you say so, I'm down with it. So anyway, so when you look at this, and then, the other thing is you kind of look at some of this, again, impressions, 41,000 in the last 30 days this page has appeared on. When I go home, I'm going to come back and start to look at what can I do to improve this page, improve the way it appears on Google search, and do something to see if maybe I can improve the click-through rate on this, so that 42,000 people, if my site has appeared 42,000 times and nobody's picked it, I need to go ahead and figure out why, because that's free traffic. That's basically free traffic. It's elbow grease traffic. I mean, and even if somebody was paying me because that fee is flat, as long as that number is continuing to go up, the value of that starts to, if you take what the price is and you add that all up and divide it, it comes out to be, $3 a user or something, it's not all that high when you look at it that way, but we need to go find out why I've got 42,000, 34,000. Why do I have these kind of numbers on traffic acquisition, and what's happening on that? Why did I only get 5 clicks off of 41,000 people? I mean, I have to really go back and look at that. We really have to look at that. All right. So that's the kind of stuff that this thing tells you to know. And I wanted to kind of say, are you getting your money out of it? Like if this was a customer, I'd be a whole lot more concerned, because I'm gonna be like, wait, why are we only getting this percentage of traffic back off of there? Where are we not doing something right? Because that's a lot of impressions. That's a lot of impressions. If I had to pay for that, that'd be 100,000 plus easy. All right. I mean, because usually on this space, the clicks are $5 or more a click, on some of these. It does help some businesses. It doesn't help other businesses. A lot of times you get garbage traffic. So I have higher numbers, but my conversion number doesn't go up. So I need to look at that. Like, what am I getting out of those ads? Now, like, I'll buy my own name so that nobody else buys my name, or so I make sure that I, because again, that's one of the top things that you do. So I kind of am blocking, although I've gotten now to where the homepage of Google, if you put in vertical web, it's all us. So I finally have it that it's 100% something that we've done. But, I mean, there's other things that are like a Coke machine. We worked for one of the satellite companies years ago, and they had $300,000-$400,000 a month that they would do in ads and pay-per-click ads a month. And they looked at it that they knew if they put out 300,000, they'd get, 450,000 back. So their return was, I'd invest 300,000, I'd get 450 back. So I'd get my 300,000 back plus 150. So over the course of 12 months, that's 150 then times 12, you've made $1.2 million doing that. I mean, so, that's how you look at it. But I had to spend 350 to make, I had to spend 300 to make 450, and I would dare to say that if they had spent 50, they wouldn't have made 65. Because again, it goes back to those touches. So they were everywhere, and every place you went and searched, you found these people. So, paid ads are an animal all unto itself. I think this year I'll end up doing a paid ad situation, but not there quite yet to decide to do that. But what I also want to see is, like, what I'm looking at is my money pages are also the pages that are ranking here. So the other thing that I can tell by looking at this is that although I have large amounts and I don't have the click-throughs, the pages that are getting the impressions are the pages that I put to get that search term. So I look at this screen and I'm a little bit like, I really need to fix the problem. But on the other side of the coin, I look at this and I go, you know what? Kudos, because the right people are getting the right page on the right searches. This tells me that it's working the way it should. The only thing is that people are not clicking on it through Google, and I've got to figure out why that is. So that's something that I've got to look at. So, all right. So I've done a lot of talkies. Anybody have any questions? Because we've got like 5 minutes left. Go ahead.
So each page has like an SEO description. Is that really important?
Yes. Okay. But the keywords are not. The title and the description are important. The title more so than the description. But again, Wix is not set up to output that, or Squarespace also is not set up to output that properly. So I would spend my time not worrying about what was in Squarespace. I would be trotting myself over and getting myself an e-commerce store set up with WordPress is how I would do it. And WordPress.org, not WordPress.com.
But what is it?
WordPress.org, not WordPress.com. So you need a regular hosting company, a regular hosting package, and then you need WooCommerce added to it. WordPress.com is no better than Wix, Weebly, and Squarespace. You're a WordPress.org, not a WordPress.com person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, huh?
Or-
.org. Okay, very good. Yeah, you need, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful with that too. That's a whole nother one. So, and if you haven't built your site yet, please don't build it in any of these things. There are no gimmicks. All right. If it's easy, and I mean, I don't think WordPress is hard. I mean, I know it's all relative. Although what I will say, and I would be very willing to, I'm going to actually test this. They in WordPress now with the right themes, they have AI site builders that will literally set the whole website up for you, stem to stern, within 15 minutes. I can build a website in 15 minutes with these things, with these tools. Yeah, but see, the platform itself is not set up right. The difference is this is built in, so it sets the framework up, and what needs to be fixed, you can fix, where you can't fix it in Squarespace because you don't own the ability to do that. When you do it in WordPress, if I want to come in, like I said, I think I'm going to teach a structure class next time around that says this is how you put the website together. You can't do it right within those framework sites. Plus, all the code's bloated. Code is really kind of blicky. So that's a whole nother piece of this problem. So,
So I have a question.
okay.
I have WordPress. And do I only use the sidekick for the plugin? Do I not use the search when you were on Google search?
Google Search Console is set up through it. They're all set up so that once it's set up, you can go back to those properties and you can look at them in Search Console. The part of Sitekit is to set it up for you. It does the setup part, and it makes the setup part easy that we don't have to go get a web admin or a header, because it has to be put in the header. So either you have to know how to get in the back with FTP or a code or whatever. You need to add a header footer manager, which is a little dangerous. And if you put it in the wrong place, you can break your whole website. Or you use Sitekit, which puts it in for you and takes care of it for you.
So I shouldn't set up any other things if I.
What does set up other things mean to me?
Set up the content, because it's trying to tell me to go back and add this on analytics.
Turn it around. I can't see what you're looking at. It's trying to tell you that. But that's not Sitekit, that's analytics itself that is talking to you. So, well, no, whatever those errors are now, we need to go see what those are and then figure out what's wrong with it. Okay. Sitekit is really just a code injector. It's just a way to inject the header codes into it. It does do a little bit of a display back on the outside of the website. So you don't have to go to the properties if you only want the top 10. So you can go open it up and let me see. See, this one it's not working right because it says I don't have the right permissions on my own. All right, well, I got to go fix this because this service was originally connected to administer and you can only do it. So whatever I did, I've got to set the access up to the right thing because I set this up under a different account and then moved it. So I must not have the right permissions on it in the place I moved it to. So I'll have to just go back and fix that and just empower it because it was set up under a different account. And I was just trying to make my life easy on this because this is a personal project. So it's not a paying customer situation. So because of that, I've been just, so I was like, let me move it out of the company account so nobody gets confused as to what this is doing in here. So that's what I did. So whatever I did broke this, but it didn't break it enough that it took this off. And it, so I've just got to fix that. So if yours is doing that, I would read because where I can see what it is I was connected by administrator ACTWD and now I'm trying to change that. So whatever it thinks it is, I've got to go back and just figure out what to do. Yeah. Either login is that or it says request access. And when I tell it to request access, it says go ahead and do it. And then it wants Beth at Vertical Web. So I'm going to tell it confirm. And let's see what happens to it. I'll see what happens because I think if I look, let me see, where is the thing on this? Hold on. I must not be, I don't know what it's doing. So whatever it's doing, I don't know. So we'll get that. I'll have to look at that. So it's not working right. So I've got to go and look and see why it's not working right and see what it is. It may be I have to log into the main account and repower it as I think I have to go into the main account and change the permissions on it to be an administrator. And usually I don't miss stuff like that, but that's what this is reading like, is that I gave it permissions, but I didn't give it the right permissions. So, all right. Are we all good for the week?
You said that, whenever you were talking about a web designer and the SEO person,
Yeah.
would you get two different people to do that? Do the web design and then work on your SEO?
That's a really good question. And in fact, frankly, I'm going to say no. But the problem,
That guy hired some, but they didn't know anything about SEO.
yeah, and they messed it all up. All right, and see, this is the problem. And I've been racking my brain because I think that's something that we do. Like my staff does not know how to build a website without SEO components because I trained them. And because I trained them, they're the only ones that they actually know how to do it. So, but how do you find people? Because they all say, and I'm going to tell you, I had, so this guy that did this, he was a pay-per-click guy. And he came to me and he said, well, the customer wants to do this and he wants me to do it, but I need you to kind of tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I said, well, let me tell you, I said, it's not my job to train you how to do SEO. I said, I'm not going to train you to do SEO so you can go take that service from me. I said, I'll buy your company. I said, if you'd like to come work for me, I'll be happy to buy your company. And then you can come work for me and then you can get trained. I said, but I'm going to also put a 5-year non-compete on you too. So I just want you to understand, I will buy you, but that's what we'll do. Well, you're just arrogant. Nope, you're right. I'm arrogant because I know something you don't know, and I'm from New Jersey, and I just reek arrogance, even though I'm really not in real life. I ended up getting in when I say screaming, that might do a disservice to it, but like literally like blowing the speakers out on my overhead as I'm driving down Bay, but he's like yelling at me. And of course, then I got animated in Italian on him, and that got to be a thing. And he's like, well, how do you know I don't know how to do this? And I said, because I've been talking to you for I know things you say, you have no clue what you're doing. So fast forward now to this week. I guess it was about a year ago, one of my staff came to me and says, this website all of a sudden is not doing good. Do I need to let somebody know? And I said, I went and looked at it. I was like, no, they changed the website. So it's not ours anymore because it did this. Okay. So the next thing, this week the guy called me. He said, look, he said, it's been a year. I've given him a year. I've told him what it needs to be fixed on. He doesn't do it. He tells me to just mind my own business and go sit down. He said, will you look at it for me? He said, I'm going to come back. He said, and I just need you to put together a plan for me of what to do. And I looked at it. When I tell you the most rudimentary, and actually, as I'm talking through this, I may be a way I may have come up with a way to do this. If you look at the title tag on this, you see it says expert Houston SEO. It says a whole bunch. It's not giving me, there it is. Web design web design agency, SEO Houston. And I'm going to I'm going to actually put digital marketing in there somewhere. I want to rewrite that a little bit. All right. I guess I'll just say who this is here and let's just do this way. Log at it so we can see it better. This says custom vacations to Italy.
And then
It's the one I'm taking back over. I'm gonna have to take this one back over. Okay. I can go and show that I can show you what the old one looked like. Okay. Can anybody tell me when they go and look for an Italian vacation, what you would put in to do that? Huh? Italian vacations, honeymoon in Italy, Italian honeymoon, huh? Yeah, something like that. Custom vacations to Italy. Anybody put that in? Anybody hear that? Okay. This one really got me though. I actually had to Google this because I never ever had heard this, right? Bespoke itineraries. Does anybody know what the word bespoke means? I have a college education. I had never heard of the word bespoke ever. I'm like, what an awkward sound. Do you know what it is? You do. Okay. Okay.
Well, you know what I mean? So
It's custom. It's another word for custom. Okay. So custom itinerary. So if I walk in the door and I say to you, custom itinerary, what do you think I'm doing? Don't look at this. What do you think I'm doing? Huh? It could be a custom itinerary at Home Depot. All right. It could be a custom itinerary for the bus schedule for the city of Houston. All right. There's no delimiter on that, right? Okay. So let's go to the next line. All right. So I have a bad title tag. That's the most important thing. Okay. I then have this custom Italian vacations. By the way, can anybody read that word vacations by any chance? Because I can't read it. The bespoke, I literally had to magnify because I never heard of it ever in my life. Okay. Nowhere does it say honeymoons, trip types, nothing. Okay. So let me do it this way because I can do it this way. Archive.org. So actually, I think I'm going to answer your question this way. I'm actually I actually think I just figured it out. I'm going to make a video and I'm going to tell you, ask for referrals. And when you go to the referral, if it says home as the title tag on the front page, they have no idea what they're doing. If you come to the first paragraph of text and it says weird stuff, and you have to learn to read it like I'm reading it. Like you notice you infer that it's Italian itineraries because you're on an Italian website. But if I just take the words by themselves and I read them, what do they say? And let me so let's go back to before this website was flipped. And then I'm going to give you another example of something. And I mean, I've seen some of these websites, they come and whoever did it knew enough to do it. Okay. But this is kind of how you ferret out the bad people, right? Okay. So hold on a minute. I'm going to bring this up over here now. It's going to take it a second. It's loading it from an archive, so it takes it a while. This is like the Wayback Machine. Yeah.
So we got this space as a partnership with Zed, and we decided to have some time to take go downstairs and take a tour of the space. It is a very lovely space. It is a co-working space. We have offices and this one. If you post anything about your class today, please tag us and tag / co-working. Pictures, everything, tag us.
This one's not much better.
You don't have to find
All right, so if you look at this one, it's this was, I think this was after we left, but at least it says trip to Italy, which because the name of the company is Trips to Italy, I can get away because that's what people Google, trip to Italy, okay? Or plan the best Italy vacation. And notice that I'm not saying Italian because Google thinks Italian is a person. They don't think it's a destination. So I actually had to change the word because Italy is the country and where you're going. Italian is not a thing. Okay. So you actually have to know that and be smart enough to go, if I say Italian, Google gives me people, Marco Polo. Okay, good. It's going to help me. All right. So what I did is, so you look here and you see it starts out with custom Italian vacations, and then it breaks out honeymoons, family trips. Actually, this list is a lot longer, but for whatever reason, I've got Italy vacation, and then you see it says Italy honeymoon, Italy vacation package, food and wine, bus tours, because that's what people are. I'm putting words in that people use. Okay. So you see custom Italy vacation starts here. Live Italy. Don't just see it. Then it says create one of a kind Italy vacation has never been easier. And then it says choose your Italy destination. And then it says book your trip to Italy. Because again, I want trip to Italy in it, right? And then I come down and I say popular destinations. And I've got, places where people want to go. And then we have a little bit of a paragraph for some text. And then we have, again, Italy honeymoons, Italy this, Italy that. What, are you going somewhere?
still sprinkle Italian or somewhere, some people.
I did, because you'll see it here. It's right here in the navigate here. See, it says custom Italian vacations. So I do have it, but yes, Italians are, it's just like the same with Mexico. I could say I'm going to go take a Mexican vacation, or I'm taking a vacation to Mexico but if I'm saying I'm taking a Mexican vacation, that's like food and people. That's not like a destination, because it still needed to be there somewhere. Okay. But this is textbook. So if I look at this, I know that who did this had somewhat of an understanding. There's further places that if you look, you can see. So now I'm going to do this. Was it K? Queenly was with a K. K. Yeah. Okay. Now, I look at this and I know whoever built this had no idea what to do with SEO. And why do I know that? Huh?
I remember this, that's how I last, we don't know what they're selling.
Well, but if I look at this, the title tag is the name of the company, nothing else. Okay. You have no idea what they're selling here. All right. Yeah. So I can give you clues that when I look at it, and I think that's how I'm going to do this. How do you know if your web designer really knows SEO or not? Okay. Because if I look at this page, whoever built this page has no idea about SEO. None. Okay. If I look at the new trips to Italy page, I can tell the person that built this had no idea what they were doing. Okay. And I'll tell you, it goes to trip types. Okay. You notice there's no drop down menu for trip types. I actually have to click through to it. I come here, this says custom trips to Italy. Okay. Except that I went to a page that talks about trips. Plan your trip to Italy, or plan your, do something, right? So it doesn't really say, and then it says in little print, for romantic honeymoons, family vacations. Okay, what about high school reunions? What about destination weddings? What about group trips? What about church tours? What about, they're all missing. There's like 10 or 12 of them but they're all missing. In this right up here, all it looks like it says is a romantic honeymoon. Romantic honeymoon to where? Timbuktu? That's the stuff that's missing from a Google standpoint. Now you understand romantic honeymoons to unvacatable. And then this is too unforgettable. The way it's even written is poor, but I'll just save that for a different thing. But then I come down and I have family honeymoons, family vacations. There's some things wrong with that too. I'm going to start to get more technical. But if you look at somebody's past work, you can tell at least if they have a clue. Because if they don't have a clue, they're going to build it wrong. And then the next thing is you're going to come to an SEO company and the SEO company is going to say, I'm sorry, we have to rebuild this, which is a very common problem. So it looks like the SEO companies are just capitalizing and have to rebuild it. At least if you get a web designer, if you opt to not have them be the same, that's okay. But at least if I get a web designer that has somewhat of a clue, I won't have to say the sentence, I have to rebuild it. I would just have to say the sentence, I'll have to optimize it. All right. So it's a completely different set of circumstances. But I think if you look at a site that somebody has done versus and their SEO knowledge, and you actually, if I actually tell you what to look for, I think actually I could make something together that says, how do you know if your webmaster knows how to do SEO? All right. And I think that's, or does your webmaster, because I think if you don't know what you're doing for SEO and you build a website, unless your objective is to have just a brochure or just a purpose out there and you don't really care if anybody finds it other than on your business card, that's one set of circumstances. But if you want traffic from the internet to people to come to your website, you best be making sure somebody knows what the heck they're doing when they put it back together, because if they don't, you're not going to know what to do. So anyway, I think that's what I think I finally found how do we do this? And we build it as a checklist, because I think that's because I've been racking my brain trying to say, because I can just tell by looking at it, but why can I tell by looking at it? There's certain attributes. I mean, you look at me, you know, I'm overweight. I could never convince you that I was a long distance runner. I mean, there's no earth that we're going to think I'm a long distance runner in. Huh?
Over the years.
Well, but even still, I didn't get like this if I could run, you know? So, I mean, I think what my point is that, you know, I could tell you that I'm a track star from now till doomsday. You're going to look at me and you're going to go, yeah, no, probably not. All right. So that's the same thing, but the web designers, because you have no idea what you're looking for. So the first thing you should look for is ask them for websites they've worked on. And you don't have to tell them why, because I wouldn't say, I want to see if you know SEO, because I'm going to go look. I just want to see some of the websites that you worked on. They should be willing to give them to you. They shouldn't be afraid to have, because they'll probably thinking, oh, you're going to go call them. All right. So that's probably going to be a piece of that. But with that said, I would not pursue that.
Find that website was built by them, because what if they find a good website and they say that they did it and it's somebody else?
Well, I would be calling the person to see if they actually like doing business with this person or not, but no, I guess there is no really way. Like we have our I put it on the bottom of every site that the website's built by us. So, you know, I think there's very few sites that don't have it at this point. I mean, I probably could figure it out. But just like I have one customer that we didn't want anybody to know where that website went. So I basically, everything that would ever lead it back to us, I changed. So anybody that knew our internal, and I only did it because there was a dispute with the other person. So I didn't want any blowback.
They scroll all the way to the bottom because it's like built by, published by.
But I would look at the website and go and look at it to go see what it says, what it looks like, what the title tags say. Are they descriptive? Are the headers descriptive? I'm going to change this one around a little bit, but at least it's quasi right. All right. So we just put this site up. I haven't sat and gone through it all yet. Okay. But this here is a little bit out of order, but at least there's at least some manner of, I look at this and I'm like, okay, this person knows, at least they know something. I will change it, but at least they know something. All right, so that's that. And then this says cosmetic and general dentist in Kingwood. And the good thing is the dentist in Kingwood, dentist Kingwood, because that's the key term, right? So dentist in Kingwood, Kingwood dentist, that's the, so I can look at this and say, sorta, because where else I would say this says services, this needs to say dental services. Okay, so how much they know, like if I was just gonna do this and because you're a little bit newer, you don't know to put dental services. We don't ever put just services, but you don't know that. And I haven't had a chance to go through and correct all this yet. All right. No, she's learning. So that's fine. I mean, there's 22 years worth of information I have to impart on her. You know?
So much.
You're very welcome. I think I'm done too, because I think I need to go.
Want to use your thought, it's what you can do from work, how you go about that.
That's a wrap for this week's Internet Marketing Clinic. We'll see you next week. Thank you.